Hey there, I'm Lumo. Let me be your guide to getting back to Diablo 3 and Sanctuary in 2023. There will be some timestamps in the description if you want to skip around to a specific section or are looking for a particular mechanic to understand. If there's anything I don't cover, leave a comment below and I'll do my best to answer. With D4 around the corner and the beta sooner than that, there are demons that need defeating, but maybe you didn't get into the beta. Luckily, D3 always needs more Nephilim and has plenty of fun to be had and evil to slay. Let me help you get started. Whether you're playing seasonal or non-seasonal, this is all relevant. Here are the systems we'll talk about: Ancient and Primal items, Kanai's Cube, Follower Revamp, the Echoing Nightmare, Key and Noteworthy Legendaries, Season 28, the Rites of Sanctuary, and getting started with Season 28. Over time, Diablo 3 has received enhancements to the game systems, including additional torment difficulties and additional legendary tiers, like the Ancient and Primal items. Of course, there have also been legendary power changes, as well as set changes and balances as well. There's too many to cover, so I won't get into the details of every change, but all legendaries still have their effects listed clearly on the item if you're unsure. If you haven't been playing for a long time, Kanai's Cube is a powerful artifact that is found in the Elder Sanctum in the Ruins of Sescheron. Once you collect it, you can find it in any town hub. Kanai's Cube has several functions, such as extracting legendary powers, reforging set items, converting crafting materials, and transmuting items. All the recipes can be found conveniently within the same UI as Kanai's Cube. Also, there was a patch that included a fill button, so you don't actually have to do any manual dragging for items and materials to fulfill the recipe. Another system added to Diablo 3 were the new legendary tiers called Ancient items in patch 2.12, and later, Primal Ancients were added in patch 2.5. Ancient items roll with higher stats possible than legendary items, while Primal items roll with perfect stats. Ancient items and Primal items can be obtained in any other way you obtain legendary items. However, Primal Ancient items only appear once you've completed at least one Greater Rift level 70. These are tracked separately for seasonal and non-seasonal gameplay, so if you're not sure if you've completed a Greater Rift level 70, there's an achievement indicating such. Next on our list is the Follower Revamp. This was introduced in patch 2.7, which improved the gameplay and usefulness of followers. This included changes to follower skills, as well as allowing followers to equip more legendaries, and the new follower feature, Emanate. This feature allows the player to gain the intended effect of certain legendary powers and set bonuses when equipped on the hired follower. For example, the Flavor of Time allows pylon effects to last twice as long. Our last gameplay addition we'll be going over is the Echoing Nightmare introduced in Season 26. In the Echoing Nightmare, players will experience an intense, densely packed, increasingly challenging event that stretches their ability to stay in the fight as long as possible. In order to get to the Echoing Nightmare, you'll need to obtain a Petrified Scream from a Greater Rift Guardian. Once you have a Petrified Scream, you can transmute it in Kanai's Cube to summon a portal to the Echoing Nightmare. The goal is to survive as long as possible while the difficulty scales as you defeat monsters. The faster you defeat monsters, the faster you progress. At the conclusion, you'll be awarded experience, legendary items, blood shards, and gems, as well as a unique legendary gem, the Whisper of Atonement. The Whisper of Atonement is used exclusively for augmenting ancient legendary items and will be leveled accordingly to the tier of difficulty you achieved. Before we start talking about the seasonal gameplay, I want to highlight some legendaries that might help you as you collect them throughout your journey. The first I want to mention is probably the first legendary you might come across, which is Leoric's Crown. This helmet increases the efficacy of any gem socketed into it by up to 100%, and this is a great way to level up quickly by inserting a red gem, which will effectively double the bonus experience that you'll get. Some other legendaries you might want to keep your eye out for include the Convention of Elements, which gives you a massive boost to elemental damage whenever that specific element in the rotation appears. This ring often competes with Stone of Jordan, which used to be a staple in early Diablo 3. Unity is another legendary ring that is useful for solo play, as it provides a huge boost to survivability by splitting damage between all wearers of the item. So if you have another and you give it to your follower, you will split the damage between you and your follower. Yet another important legendary ring is the Ring of Royal Grandeur. This ring reduces the number of set items required to complete a set bonus by 1, which is a common staple in many builds and can be obtained in Act 1 bounty caches. I also want to mention 2 more legendary rings which make up the set of the Legacy of Nightmares. This is a minor item set, which is a pair of rings, the Litany of the Undaunted, and the Wailing Host. While this is the only set bonus you have on your character, the damage dealt by your character is increased by an incredible 750%, and damage taken reduced by 4% for every ancient item equipped. In contrast, I also want to mention a legendary gem called the Legacy of Dreams, which grants a player increased damage and reduced damage taken when no other set bonuses are active. This increases with each rank, and this effect is double for ancient items at rank 25. This gem is also very easy to get, which drops from Greater Rift Guardians and is usually one of the first gems that you'll receive, and it's a great way to get over rough patches early in the season when you don't have a particular build or synergy or set items. This is a reminder that there are craftable legendaries from the blacksmith as well as the jeweler. Recipes can be obtained from bounty caches as well as goblins, and some are more valuable than others. For example, the Hellfire Amulet and Hellfire Ring are not as valuable as they used to be, but crafted armor set items can be the staple of many current builds. Over time, there has been more sets introduced for each class and legendary reworks, but those were the most significant. If there are any legendaries that you're not sure what to do with, just keep them in your stash and you can introduce them into your Kanai's cube later when you have the materials to do so. Don't worry if it's not max level, once you enter that power into the cube, it will achieve its maximum potential. I will also pass on this tip that if it has the Emanate power on it, keep it for your follower in the future, as usually the Emanate powers are level agnostic. Thanks so much for watching. I hope this was helpful, and if you still have questions, just leave a comment below. I'd also really appreciate a like or a subscribe or even a follow on Twitch. Now on to Season 28 and how to start your own seasonal journey quickly. These tips will be helpful for any season start. This is a reminder that there's a feature called Rebirth that allows you to re-roll a non-seasonal character, restarting them at level 1 and without equipment to play during a new season. This is great if you have no character slots left, but note you can only rebirth up to 3 characters per season. Any equipment will be mailed to your non-seasonal mail, so don't forget to claim it. Challenge Rifts are a separate self-contained game mode. You can select it on the same screen where you choose to enter story or adventure mode. If you would like to, you can even do this activity before you even make a seasonal character. That's because the Challenge Rift features a pre-built character and a set of gear, skills, and passives that the player must use to complete the rift. Once you load into the Challenge Hub, you can check out the tools at your disposal by visiting the Soul Mirror. On the left-hand side of the Challenge Hub, you'll find a Punisher, where you can test your single target damage, and on the right-hand side, you can find a group of Revenant soldiers, which will be great for testing your area of effect attacks. Once you're ready, you can give the Challenge Rift a shot. Just click on the Challenge obelisk in the center of the hub to get started. And once inside the rift, you'll find it's very similar to a typical Greater Rift, only this time you're racing against the clock to beat the original runner's completion time. You can attempt the Challenge Rift as many times as you like, but you'll only receive the rewards once. Also, the layout of the maps and the position of the elites doesn't change, so if you're struggling, you can really map it out and plan your best course of action. The number one reason why you want to do a Challenge Rift at the beginning of a season is because it awards a cache of crafting materials, gold, and blood shards. This is a really great way to jumpstart leveling your blacksmith, your jeweler, and your mystic, and knocking off a bunch of achievements for your seasonal journey. In addition, the blood shards can be gambled for early legendaries. However, I would recommend not gambling your blood shards unless you know what you're looking for. And this is because certain legendaries only become available at certain levels. But if you're still feeling luckily there's lots of resources online that can tell you when and what to gamble for depending on your class. So now you've rebirthed or made a new seasonal character and you've completed your Challenge Rift, now it's time to actually enter the season. The first thing that you want to be doing is obviously leveling to level 70 and leveraging the season journey. You will also find in your mail the rewards of your Challenge Rift if you completed one. The season journey will indirectly provide you some structure to get to level 70, and in addition at the end it will provide you a full set to get you started in the end game. Of course you should play Diablo 3 however you like, if that's story mode or adventure mode, doing bounties or just rifts, more power to you. But if you're looking to just level to 70 as fast as possible, here are some tips. As soon as possible, try your best to get a socket into your helmet and placing a red gem for bonus experience. And remember, as you're leveling up and obtaining higher levels of gems, to make sure that you're always socketing the highest level ruby you can. As mentioned previously, if you have access to a Leoric's crown, definitely equip that to double the efficacy of that red gem. In the same vein, placing a red gem into your weapon socket can be a great boost to damage in the very early game instead of an emerald. Another common tactic to level up quickly is using the Massacre bonus, which is a bonus that appears after a player has slain 15 or more monsters in immediate succession. Note that this does not occur in rifts. Therefore, recommended locations for this activity are any area that is really dense with monsters. More specifically, it is often recommended to rerun Halls of Agony level 3 over and over again by just resetting your game, but I personally like to vary my locations between Halls of Agony level 3, the Weeping Hollow, as well as the Fields of Misery, simply to avoid restarting the game and the repetition. I will note the Fields of Misery can be a bit difficult, especially if you're playing at the maximum difficulty you can handle, but I find lowering the difficulty a bit is worth trading for the density and the size of the map. Speaking of difficulty, make sure you are pushing the difficulty as high as possible for that extra bonus experience. From my personal experience, I found the Massacre bonus to be the fastest way to level, even faster than Rifts and Bounties. Rifts have been buffed to grant extra experience, but they never felt as fast as the Massacre bonus, especially if my hero doesn't have a legendary power to carry them through the rift. As for bounties, they similarly provide bonus experience, however the time it takes to run between objectives and then complete the objective often felt slower than farming for Massacre bonuses. However, this may be different if you're playing with friends and can split bounty objectives. Additionally, simply playing with friends is another great way for bonus experience and pushing difficulty for even more bonus experience. One last way to quickly level from 1 to 70 is to simply join a power leveling community, where kind individuals who may have had a head start to the season are offering their services to power level you to 70. Just as a side note, as you near level 70, you may experience a jump in difficulty around level 60, so simply lower the difficulty if you need to. This is typically where I find I'm being held back by my power or my damage, so don't forget to socket your green gem in your weapons, augment your ancient items, prioritize your critical hit damage and your critical hit chance, which is usually on your jewelry, gloves, bracers, and helm. Once you hit level 70, begin prioritizing completing the rest of your season journey, again to get Hadrig's gift set, which will set you up nicely for endgame play, whether that's continuing to play with the set that's provided to you or farming for another build. From there, Sanctuary is your oyster, and best of luck Nephilim with your demon slaying. Now moving into Season 28, the Rites of Sanctuary, there are some other ways to really speed up the early game of level 1 to 70. For Season 28, there is the introduction of the Altar of Rites, which can grant you powers for a sacrifice. Since you can begin interacting with this altar at level 1, this becomes a very valuable tool in addition to completing the Challenge Rift, which you'll have resources to unlock some of the seals immediately. The first 2 seals that you want to unlock is the first one that is mandatory, which will require just 10 reusable parts. Unlocking this will extend your killstreak timer duration, and your reward bonuses are doubled, which coupled with the Massacre bonus will be the fastest way to level. The second seal that you want to unlock is the item levels have no requirement. With again the resources you've collected from the Challenge Rift, you'll have access to a fully leveled blacksmith with which you can craft level 70 equipment to give yourself a huge boost in power very early in the game. This second seal does require 1 flawless diamond, 15 arcane dust, and 20 parts, but the diamond is the only piece that is more challenging to get. This is because flawless gems begin dropping at level 30, but you can get normal gems beginning to drop at level 18. And with 2 normal gems, you can fuse them together to get a flawless. The best way to get 2 normal gems is to target boss bounties, but another way is if you get lucky to find a gem goblin out in the wild. Therefore, combining the powers of the Altar of Rites and the tips earlier, you'll be level 70 in no time. If you've made it this far, I just want to extend a sincere thank you for watching. I really hope this is helpful, but again, if there's any questions, leave them in the comment section and I will do my best to answer them. That's all for now. I'm Lumo. Take care.